Go.
Hi Shannon, I'm back. I just wanted to say hi to my mom.
Come closer. You're not gonna come closer. You're not going to hear them with the wind.
What's going on here is, and this is classic, something's failed, and rather than fix it, let's hide it in metal. And that's deferring what the real issue is until somebody like us comes along and says, I think we should deal with this. So I ideally would like to have part of this open so we can see, because what's really happening is the masonry wall of the shaft is thicker below this cornice detail than this surface of brick. You can't see it looking this way, but when you look this way, you can see that the masonry shaft of the wall of the tower has stepped inward, meaning this is a thinner wall than this. I think these are about 2 foot in thickness rising up, and they may corbel back to be only 18 inches when we get to the top plate. I think those are the numbers. So there was a transition detail here. Now what may have happened, ideally it would be nice to open this up and find that there was a stone wash course here, so that any moisture on the upper shaft would come down and then be pushed off like the buttresses are trying to do.
Right.
I suspect it might be brick detailing. It might be a series of corbel. If that's the case, it can't withstand the weathering. For how many years has this church been here now? 107?
1867 was it built?
75. 1875.
1875 our church was built, yes.
So we're 130, 142 years, 150 years. Washing on mortar joints, which tended to be soft because it was a lime mortar. And this is what was having to be maintained on the building all the time. What you find on these types of projects, the higher up you go, the harder it is to access to do the maintenance. So that's when people just forget about it or they hide it. But I think your concern, Tom, is we know this is still getting wet. Whatever's buried is wicking some of that water. And look at all the failed caulking.
Well, we're seeing a lot of openings here, right, Shannon? And unfortunately, if our suspicions are right, and this is a brick detail in here, this has probably been put on here because the brick detail was in such poor shape. Let's do something.
You know, in Toronto, a lot of the 50s and 60s apartment buildings that use the brick veneer, they have failures happening, and because they go up, let's say 20 stories, 15 stories, rather than provide access through scaffolding to get up and do the repair work, they've clad it in a metal siding system, so any failures that are happening are being held in place by sheet metal. It's not the right thing. Eventually you got to deal with that.
Yes.
And that's what's going on here in a smaller location.
It's kind of interesting, this spot right here too, of the masonry too, Shannon, that Terry and I are standing beside. We're seeing some, I'm going to bet, original masonry here because I see so much lime in it, eh? And then we're seeing this very, very light top coating that was installed on it, because you can tell, if you get in here close, Shannon, it was not ground out before they actually did this reparging of it, and I'm going to say it looks like it within the last 25 years, because literally you can see the depth of the reparging work. It's just a skim on top of it, and the skim always ends up falling off because it's not been embedded properly. It was a good way to make lots of money off of the church by doing this without too much work, but say, hey, we did something important.
Yeah, this area here really tells a lot about the building, because I do agree with you, Tom. If you rub the original mortars, you get the white color of the lime showing.
Of the lime bleeding, eh?
But you see a cementitious, much like the parging that was put on the buttress.
Yes.
Somebody's like smeared over top of the mortar, that mortar campaign. Then there's this other mortar campaign that was more decorative. They try and get that rope pattern in here. Anyway, there's been a lot of work done on this building over time, but even the last work, it's failing now. And things like this, if they are left unrepaired, that's water ingress. And it's true, if you spend $2,000 or $3,000 to do it now, that's good. In 10 years you wait, that might turn into 100, 200, 300,000.
Like Jim was talking about, yeah, every year just add 100, eh?
Yeah. Well. Okay.
Thank you, Shannon.